absolutely talked about those things. We absolutely did. In all of our discussions about the book and, how we would go on and on. But as I thought about that purpose and what I had written as a framework, I thought neither one of us, first of all, neither one of us have a history of shared reading experiences with parents, right? Um, and so I thought, well, do we even know what is lost through technology, even though, yep, we discussed it? Then we have discussed this purpose. We had discussed this purpose leading up to writing about it, but now I don't know that this purpose was the main purpose of our book, right? It's definitely something that we discuss, but is this really the main purpose, at least from my perspective, right? Um, because throughout our discussion, the political context and how it impacted parent child relationships and how poor people, Black people, people of color do have an ethos of caring and parenting styles, regardless of the systems that did not support them, seem to be more of what where I was in the context of the whole discussions that we've had so far. Yeah, we've talked about green eggs and ham. We talked about, um, this whole thing about what is lost when shared reading is replaced by technology. But is that the main theme or thrust of the book that we're intending to write, at least in my mind? And where did I get lost then if if that's not where I am now? And then that kind of a theme, especially as it relates to green eggs and ham, and the simplicity of those themes that are in green eggs and ham, to get us to a book that we could write quickly and move us forward quickly, is also lost for me when I move to another type of theme that has to do more with political context. Because political context relies heavily on my history, growing up with Willie Mae, and relies heavily on Black history, which is horrible and and lengthy and painful. And so I suddenly went, oh Lord, where am I, Mitzi, as it relates to the whole idea of this book? How did I get lost? Do do I am I lost, or is this where we've always been, but that now that I put it in a framework and see it all together, that I now understand that this is a much broader thing than green eggs and ham, right?
Right.
And that so that's where I am. Even when I tried to do what you suggested about sort of introducing our lives, growing up, when I started thinking about my life living with Willie Mae, and that's what I called it when I wrote about it was so painful. And it was, and it connected again to our historical roots of racism, discrimination, the impacts of poverty and racism, and why Willie Mae was the way Willie Mae was, and how I don't even know how I know why the weaknesses that I have now are the weaknesses that I have now is because of how I grew up with Willie Mae. As opposed to what we had talked about was the strengths of Willie Mae and her chicks and her, we had talked about all that. But when I started writing about it, it led me back to the political context as opposed to being able to connect with her strengths and make a cute story about it all and connecting it with green eggs and ham so that we could write this quick book that could be done in March about parenting or reading together. So I guess I'm saying I've lost my way, or have I? I would ask you, have I lost my way in terms of what we were planning to do, or is the reality of it all, when you put it all together, everything that we've talked about, complicated and historical, uh, painful, uh, political, and would take a very long time for us to sort through what we really want to say about it.
Okay. So, so one of the things, you can see my image, right? And do you see my
Oh,
hand
yeah.
raised? You see my hand raised?
No.
You don't see a
Oh,
hand
yeah,
like,
I do. I
okay.
don't see the. No, I don't see that. Like when I used to do Zooms all the time when we were
Okay, I'm gonna raise
during
my hand. I'm
COVID,
gonna
the
raise my
actual
hand.
little hand would show up.
You didn't
The
see it there? I could see it on my end. You couldn't see
Oh,
it?
there it is. There it is. There's a yellow
Okay.
hand.
Okay. So I want you to, I didn't know if you were familiar with that as a way, because I was like, okay, let me tell you. So Mitzi, one of the things that I want to say is, yeah, if we were to stick with all that you just said, it would take us 20 years to write that book. And by that time, okay. So I'm still want to stick with the idea of bringing fun to the idea of reading. And you are exactly right about one part of it. And I decided, wait a minute, as because remember, we were in a brainstorming in our first meeting. We came up with
Right.
all kinds of ideas and thoughts. And in fact, one of the things that we talked about was, Are You My Mother? How people are replacing technology. And that's, people are confused. They're being pacified by technology as opposed to by their parents, right?
Yeah.
And so that comment in my description about the green eggs and ham, what our purpose was, that was part of the conversation that you and I were having, and that brainstorming component. But to be real honest, this piece about when reading is replaced with technology, that really isn't a part of this green eggs and ham. That was really something that we talked about. And I thought, that Are You My Mother? Maybe we can end up doing another children's book about the impact of technology, but it's not for this book.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
So
in your notes, and that's where I got that
it's in
from.
my
Well,
notes.
I only went back to that because I was going, oh my God, look how big this thing is. Let me go back to what we said was our original
Yeah.
purpose. That's
Yeah.
the only reason why I went
Right.
back to that.
Right. And I don't
And
mind you
then
going.
and then
Mhm.
I do want you though. I sent you just now before our meeting started. That's what I was doing, a copy of the initial framework that I worked on.
Okay.
And I wanted you to at least look at that and see if there is any, because I think that that is the true story, and it would take forever, but is there some piece of it, because it's such a real thing, about how all of those components fit into a framework for parenting styles of Black people or poor people or whatever. Is there something about that framework that I started, though, that is something that we could do? Or is that just me wanting to do? I mean, again, this is who I am, and this is what I do, this is what I think about, and this is no wonder it got all put together that way for me, because it all makes sense to me. But is there something in there that we do use? And it's not that I intended to use those very words in a book. It's what informs the these are the themes that inform the book, right? Not that this is the book. It's it's the realities of our political system. It's how we responded to the political system as poor people and Black people. It's these theories of child development that might play some role in it because they are real, right? And then it's the strengths of the people, and what we actually what did I call it? The cultural traditions and strengths that we really have um, throughout our history. So I didn't want to just leave that there, even though I agree with you. Such a book could take 20 years. And each
So,
column doesn't necessarily relate to each other. It's its own column, right? But you do see it in context of these things.
okay. So for me, Mitzi, I think definitely there are some elements here. What I what I think when I think about what's happening politically, I think more about the social political context, right? And in particular, when we think about things like social cultural engineering, those are very deliberate efforts to change our culture, to change how we behave and respond to our environment, how we respond to the media, how we respond to anything. And there's a reason for that. For example, like not allowing children to learn how to cursive right. Now, what the buck is that all about? Let's dumb down America so we can stay smart and they can rely on us. Let's introduce so much more technology and make the people dependent upon us as opposed to them depending on themselves and their own intellect.
Okay, Tina, let's just take that one point, right?
Mm, mm.
The problem is that you have to attach that to something, right? You know, why would this exist, this whole idea, exist within our society? Well, when you retrace those, how it got started, the roots of it are our history in the United States of America, right? And so that's the issue, is that, for me at least, when you start talking about things like that, the way things are, you know, you still have to have something there that becomes the roots of how such a thing that you're describing gets started. Why is it you know, that this got started in our society, right? It just didn't come out of nowhere, right? And you have to have, the historical roots, and then here we are, and then what's the impact of those things, right?
Think so, but Mitzi, for me, I don't know how much you. I think for me, I wanted to bring more of a lightheartedness to this social political idea, and to me, it's not just the racism. Racism and all of that was there for another reason. It was really primary for capitalism. And capitalism
Right.
hasn't changed. It's about white folks making money for white folks to build their empire, not us. And we're not included in their empire, right? So
So
we get
so we still have to explain that is
we
my
don't.
only
I,
point.
I'm not saying that we don't explain that, but I'm just saying it. I'm not saying that some of those elements don't come out, but
It's not the
what
main point.
right, and I'm wondering how deep we have to go with those explanations. Is this a paragraph, and then we build upon the more fun part of it? I don't know, but I'm just saying. I definitely these kinds of ideas have to go into the book. Um, I think it's the depth of that that's going to make this either a fun read or not. And yeah, you know, and for me, really, I was just thinking, and you're, oh, I wanted to say this too earlier. That's why I put my hand up, is that I thought about, well, my mother didn't read to me, and Mitzi's mother didn't read to her, right? And then last night when I was at work, there's another female there. Her name is also Tina. We're the only two Tinas, right? But I asked her if she remembered the book Green Eggs and Ham. And she said, and I said, well, did you want to read that book too? And she said, no, just read it myself. And I was like, do you want facts? Do you? And she's going through the right, the main essence of the book. And so she was excited when I mentioned that book, but her parents didn't read to her either. And so it did make me really think about this is far removed from what you're talking about from the political stance. So just know that. But I just did been thinking like, okay, are we saying parents need to read to their children? Or because I wasn't read to, and I love Green Eggs and Ham, and it taught me a lot. And I did read it to my children when they were very young, but I wasn't exposed to the book until I was an older kid, like 9, right? Like 9 or 10, where I was reading that book to my children when they were 3. you know, so is are we saying that I was trying to think what is the real logic, behind the book? What are when we think about the theory that good parenting and good parenting involves children reading, and a good example of that, of a good parent, you could start with Green Eggs and Ham, because that's one of the most popular and most read Dr. Seuss books ever, right? um, and so we're trying to couch it. Hey, here's an example. But are we really saying that parents need to read? No. But if you do, here are the added benefits. The thing is, what our parents did do was made the introduction to the reading. They're the ones who might have, in one way, shape, or form, even if their introduction is, let me buy that book because she wants it, right? Right? For
But
me,
no, but that's okay. I mean, that happened for you. I'm
mhm,
just go ahead. So I won't.
I'm just saying that parents may not, I think that there are two other levels that we can look at. The whole idea of that, the riff idea, reading is fundamental. It is fundamental to our growth as a people, and we don't do it as much anymore. That's the bottom line. Like, we need to make sure that our children are reading in one way, shape, or form. And
Mhm.
if you begin that reading process earlier with your children, one, they will become readers on their own, independent readers. And then two, you also form a bonding relationship with your child if you do that earlier in their lives. And that's we already know that. So
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 that's
this is a parenting book.
mm. Well, you can put it in there as a parenting book, a book for parents. a book about creating a stronger foundation in our children, or through reading, or through bonding with your parents, if parents read to children. But I think our primary audience is going to be parents, and that, I think, even putting it in that category makes it more likely that we could sell that book. So I'm thinking about that from from a more angles than one.
Yeah. And that's what we need. We do need to solidify our whole goal and what kind of book this is and what kind of things do we want to emphasize within this book as a as opposed to where I was going.
Well, I think those political issues of racism and all of that are important. I'm not saying they're not, and that they should
Oh, and I
guide
know
how we write, but how we do that in a book that we're trying to reinvigorate this generation of parents to somehow support reading, encourage reading, and encourage bonding with their children through reading. I think that's really what I was thinking we could do with this. And from a social political perspective, I think maybe you know what happens when you don't read with children, or you don't encourage reading, is that children don't have the imagination. They lose imagination, and they're dependent upon things like technology for their imagination. They don't have the creativity. All kinds of things can happen. But I think for me, the basic premise of this book is children need to read more. And as parents, you can help them with that. You can encourage reading in one way. You can read with them. You can buy them books. And the added bonus is you get to bond with your child if you begin that reading process earlier in their lives. You
Yeah.
know, you become important, more important than technology or whatever. That's what I'm thinking, along that line. And it doesn't even have to be a big book. I don't care if it's 15 pages, 20 pages even. Um,
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because I was lost in all kinds of pain that I didn't want
yeah.
to be lost in. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. This is
Yeah.
awful. Um,
I think
and how do I make anything good come from this? But how could
well,
I not, how could I not, look at it, you know? But absolutely, you're right.
I think, Mitzi, there are those people who have experiences, and those experiences, either it either encourages them or it discourages them, right? And it either will discourage you. I mean, my mom didn't read to me. She just wasn't her. My mom dropped out of school when she was in the eighth grade. Right? So my mother didn't read to me or my siblings. I don't recall her ever reading to me as a kid, or
Me
to any of
either.
us.
Yeah.
Not all of us sitting on the couch and her reading. I don't remember anything like that ever. Right? So, but did that encourage me or discourage me? Well, I like to read. Well, most of my sisters like to read, but the avid reader, there's only one who's a true avid reader, right? And my girls, they like to read. And one daughter who's an avid reader, like Yata, loves to read. And then, and I don't know if that's because of what I did as a parent. It could have been because I used to read to my kids all the time, right? And even Dwight, he likes to read. He doesn't maybe read all that I think, but he reads far more than I thought. He has a lot of books. I didn't know Dwight was a reader like that.
Really? You
I
didn't
had no idea.
know?
I had no idea until he moved and I saw all his books. He's like, yeah, I like that author and blah blah blah. Blah. Yeah, I had no idea that Dwight liked to read. Right.
Well, and I would say also he has the way that I interacted with him when he was helping me to download all the stuff is that he has developed cognitive strengths that he's
Mm-hmm.
probably not utilizing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In a career or something,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Right. Right.
Because the skills that he exhibited are the same skills that, like, when we were all home during COVID, we connected a lot to our IT department, who had to help you figure out how to get connected, your VPN, your this and that. If you
Mm-hmm.
ran into trouble, they would, connect with you and help you. And it was those same kinds of skills that they get paid a whole lot of money to do, that he was exhibiting and probably didn't realize that he had those skills, and that they're transferable skills that could, right? He could be
Mm-hmm.
working for the college help center, in
Mm-hmm.
IT to help
Mm-hmm.
people, and that he could be easily trained to,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. 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 So I think Mitzi, to be real honest, you know, thinking about how this book will be framed, um, it's hey, that's what they said. Reading is fundamental, period. And as parents, we have a way, or we're in a position to influence that in our children,
yeah,
and we do get that added bonus if you read to your children, right? Um,
right.
the challenge is too today is, what if you didn't read with your children when you were young and they were young and they're not readers and they just want to be on their phones? Like, how do we as parents, encourage them? And what I think, Mitzi, remember I talked to you before about, oh, what was the term? Um, there's this term used. Basically, it's like an upsell. There's an upsell process. An upsell is where you have some additional component of your book or something that you could offer, like with your book, to encourage purchasing, right? It might be like, oh, you can get 20% off it for the first 50 readers, right? Or it might be the added bonus of purchasing this book is you could get our uh, 10-page
Workbook.
work handbook on um, and I would like to do that, like a 10-page book on um, steps to begin to encouraging children to read. What does that look like for you? And we don't have to have the knowledge. There are other people out there who have the knowledge. We just going to take it and put it in our book.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? We don't have to be so excited, about it.
right.
So,
And I knew that's where we wanted to go,
uh-huh.
but I just could not get there from
Yeah,
this historical place or this political place, or even from my own lived experience, or from
yeah.
my history. It was like, so yeah, this is a different place where we don't need to talk about history.
We don't need,
We
yeah,
don't
it's
even
not,
want to
yeah.
talk about a collective. We don't want to talk about
No,
any of those
no, we just want to say,
things
guess
because,
what?
yeah,
That's all we want people to know is, guess what? Reading was
yeah,
fundamental.
reading
We
is really
saw how
important.
important it was. And we probably could even do a little bit of data to find out what was happening in the 70s when the reading motions were going on. In other words, did we see an increase in students going to college? Did those kinds of things happen, especially lower income children who didn't have access to books? What was happening with those children? How did it influence their intellect and their drive to do more? And I think there's probably plenty of data out there that shows a connection between reading and student academic success, right? There's plenty, right? So
And
there's,
even the history comes in when um, what was reading is fundamental. Where did that come from? Well, the war on poverty,
yeah, okay,
right?
okay.
That's
There
that's
you go.
the
Hmm.
that's the history.
That's our history piece. Hmm.
Um, that was government um, promoting reading
Hmm.
for everybody, right?
Hmm. I think that's an excellent point, Mitz. Excellent. Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the history
Right.
instead of.
Right. And
Mhm.
even if we, even if with that history, like I said to you, I saw those commercials. I saw the reading is fundamental commercials, and over the years I saw that stuff, and yeah, and it really did encourage me to want to read more. And I can remember when we had moved from from the where we had moved to when we first came to Toledo. you know, we moved from that place 5 years later. So I was 9 years old, and we moved to a house. And I can remember, girl, getting my sister's high school books, their biology books, and reading them. And my mother, even though she didn't read to us, like I said, there were other ways that she had a silent encouragement. Like she loved the encyclopedias. Back then they used to sell encyclopedias,
Oh
and
yeah.
she used to love those things. She didn't say, "Here, guys, read this," but she would buy them and look at them. And of course, it sparked curiosity. What's all in that book? And back then, there were the illustrations that were amazing illustrations also in the encyclopedias. And then she was also, I remember her, she also loved Bibles. Like she would get these Bibles of different sizes. And matter of fact, I have my mom's Bible that's probably this thick, and literally it's like it's way bigger. It's about 4 to 5 inches thick, and it's probably about like a 8 by 10. It's a big Bible that I
Oh,
remember my mom bought, and again, full of illustrations and things like that. And it's actually out here. It's going to get packed up pretty soon, but the thing is, when she bought things like that, it just sparked my curiosity to want to see what's inside these pages. And she didn't sit and read the Bible to me, but she bought these things into the house that encouraged me to want to see them.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for
So
getting
Mitzi,
me out of the hole.
so Mitzi, I feel like what we do need to do first, Mitzi, uh, is write the part about the reading, the part of that really is how it was for you in terms of reading, and where did it come from, even if it was your own internal drive. I feel like we need to introduce ourselves, and I want to do it in a fun way. Like, I think I told
Yeah.
you, I think, like, remember I told you about Father Flager. Father Flager is a Catholic bishop who was the bishop at Saint Sabina Church in Chicago. And Saint Sabina Church is a church that supported Barack Obama's church. And he was friends with that Barack Obama's previous pastor. And the guy who was our pastor in Cleveland, his son is now the pastor of of I think Saint not Saint Sabina, but another church. Anyway, there's an affiliation with these people. And the guy came to my church to preach at our like 75th anniversary or something like that. It could have been 100. But this white man with these beautiful blue eyes, you just knew he was from Switzerland or something. Just beautiful water blue eyes. a white man coming to preach at our 75th church anniversary.
Wow.
Yeah. So he gets up to the podium and people are mad because, like, this mama stuff, what is he doing here?
We gotta have a white man at this. Come
You know
on.
what the you know what he did? He looked around, he opened his book, he said, I know what you're thinking. He said, I'm gonna just put it out there. I know what you're thinking. Why is this white man, Catholic, not even Baptist, coming up here to preach to you on an anniversary like this? He said, I know what you're thinking. Everybody busted out laughing because everybody was thinking
Everybody was
just
thinking
that.
the same
And you
thing.
know what? And so for me, when I think about how I want to start this story, I want to start out just like that. I know what you're thinking. Now, what the heck does a book like Green Eggs and Ham have to do with politics or parenting? I know what you're thinking. I want to start it out just like that.
I
And
like
then
that.
and then I can go into talking about my story in some way, shape, or form. That's what I want to do. I want to just start out like, I know y'all think this is crazy. These things don't relate. Like, what the heck? But, and no, my mama didn't read to me. She didn't read to me at all. Not one day. I don't remember any of it. And I want to put it out just like that in a language where people can say, you got to be kidding me. And then here you are trying to encourage somebody to read. You see
Oh,
what I'm
thank you,
saying?
Tina. Thank you, Tina. You flipped my script. Um,
That's what I mean.
because as you were saying, oh, just talk about how you came to be, in love with books and stuff. I think I don't remember having any books when I was a child. and I go, no, listen, and I go, I don't know. The whole, remember I told you my mother was saying, come downstairs. She didn't say oddball, but she was being nice. Come downstairs, you oddball, and be with the rest of the family. So my whole introduction to reading in books is a big mystery to me because I don't know how I managed to have a love affair with books given there was no books. She wasn't encouraging books. She thought of me as an oddball. Um, there was just nothing that I could remember. I wish I could remember some kind of a spark or some kind of an event or her doing something or somebody reading to me or somebody giving me something that would that I would go, like you just described, the Bible, encyclopedias, and, that she purchased the book for you, and that all of those things really, it makes sense that you would be encouraged to read. And when I think about me, I go, uh-oh,
Well,
he's
well,
calling me.
well, she she she
Uh-oh.
she didn't buy it for me. She bought it for her because she liked looking at those things.
Okay, well,
But it wasn't
still,
for
she
me.
bought it.
But
But the point is that you have some kind of memory that you can attach to your connection to books and reading. And I don't at all. No way, no how.
let me help
But
you.
I'm still happy that you flipped the script because that's still the point, too, that you're making is that you may not have a connection with reading, right? But that's why we're here to help you make that connection to reading and what we know you want for your kids, right? Which is for them to be, to do well in school. You know, we all know that that's what parents want for their children is for them to be successful in school and for them to do better and for them to, graduate, for them to be successful in life. And it doesn't, and that you could have that if you just help your children to enjoy the magic of reading, even if you never had that. Because that is part of our experience, Tina, is that we may not have had that at all, no way, no how, right? My mother was too busy trying to figure out how to put shoes on our feet, how to feed us, how to, right, how to pay the rent and the utility bills. So she was not focused on giving us a book. And I can really understand that. That is part of when I was thinking about a framework about why, why she wasn't, because she had all these heavy things that she was attending to, right? And that these heavy things were stacked on top of one another and made me sad. But now I'm getting out from under all those things and I'm getting to the point. And the point is that even though we didn't have all of these things, we can now still understand that books are critical to the cognitive development of our children, that we need to encourage our children to do, and that we might even find, because I can relate to this, I found joy and love and connection to my own baby by reading these books to him that never experienced with her, right? So you did flip the script that there what I do have that, right, that I can connect to is my joy when I started reading, finding these books. If you give a mouse a cookie, if you, it, the Mouse and the Motorcycle series. I have, there's a series of books that me and Lauren discovered together that I loved that I never had access to when I was growing up. So
So
the
Mitzi,
mhm.
there was something that you had said earlier, and I wanted to just say, for me, that would be the first line in my section if I were writing your book, your side, that section about your experience. Yeah, say, well, whatever it said, something you said, and I thought that would be my first sentence. That would be my first statement when we talked about when you first saying how your mother didn't have no books. We getting four no books. I ain't getting no damn books, right? There was something you said, and I would definitely start out my writing with that statement and build on it. That's number one. Number two, um, you didn't have any experiences with books. Y'all didn't have any books in your house. But the thing is this, one thing that I've learned, people often want what they don't have. They often want what they can't have, what they're being restricted from. It's almost like slavery. When you're enslaved, all you want is freedom, right? And how many people who were enslaved also wanted to learn how to read because they saw the white people reading and how they were being able to move forward to get to places because they saw white folks reading. And how many people do we know who were just really wanted to go off to college to get a high school, get a high school diploma because we know that they were stopping black folks from going to school and getting a good education where they could graduate, right? So even though you didn't have those things, you didn't have a book, the desire could have been simply in the fact that you didn't have it. And then maybe that is what fueled you to make sure that your child didn't have that same experience being without books and reading. You know, I
Mhm.
that's yeah. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and the I'm saying the script has
Hmm.
flipped.
Yeah, good,
And so
good.
yeah, that is so
So, okay, so
Well,
let's
let's go back to I did try
oh,
to again and again I tried to access the
video.
transcript, the
Oh, and you
recording.
couldn't?
I couldn't. I kept getting this video is private. Things like
Oh,
that.
okay. Well, then that would be me. That would be my fault then.
And
Okay.
so I couldn't it wouldn't allow me to download it, even
Okay.
though I can now download other YouTubes that weren't private, but yours it was going nope.
That's my, you know me, I got issues, Mitzi.
Well,
It's probably because
it
I
was
knew I made it private and wasn't thinking. So
oh well maybe
that's
that's
what
it.
I'm saying. I would have that would have been on me. Um, let me go to my videos.
Girl, do you know I went through hours of work on this framework?
Yeah, I see all of that. We're
It was
gonna
a
save
lot of
we're gonna
work.
save that. We're gonna save that because I definitely could see how elements of that could be pulled could
And
be could,
later on, and really later on, take a look at it because, whoo, I mean, I nailed some things in there. Not things that we want for this book, but I still nailed some things in there that are for something. I don't know what.
yeah,
Maybe it's for they're for something, right?
we're gonna use it for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, hold on. I just see some things here I had to delete first. Delete. And then let's make this video. Edit. Okay. Oh, here it is. Save as private. I saved it as private. That's why. I can
You
see it here.
you
I
really see it?
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah. I saved it as private. Now I just gotta figure out how to go back and no public. I'm gonna put public. Save and publish as public. Publish. And it looks like your video is published. Okay. Can you go to Google? I mean YouTube. It's called Green Eggs and Ham Meeting. And there. It wasn't even completed, and that's probably
There
why.
it is.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, but we got it now. That's okay.
Yeah. So let me just tell you quickly.
So
Did you get the links that I sent in the chat? So go up to the chat.
this is another thing I want to say thank you about is that is so funny that you were able to get it done so quick. I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, Mitzi, is go to I'm gonna upload this video too, right? And maybe I'll find a way to just put it in a folder or something just for us because right now it's public. But who knows? I mean, who's gonna find this video by typing in green eggs? Who's gonna be looking for a video on it? Um, but anyway, but for right now, at least you see how we can do it, and I'll just go ahead and upload it. And this one is titled what? Green Eggs and Ham Part One. I'll do Part Two, Part
yeah,
Three, just to keep
yeah.
them separate.
But remember, I still wanted it to be in a transcript format
Yeah.
instead of a video. Did
So
you,
I
since you
don't
found
know.
a way to do this, can you find a way to
Yeah.
turn into a transcript?
So when I it's by Ori. Okay, so this is me then. I'm the admin. So what happened earlier, I tried to do, it says you can record and transcribe, but when I hit that, it says my transcription process was locked. And now I see where it's saying that transcription is turned off for the meeting, or off for the meeting organizer by organization policy. Reach out to IT admin to get access. So I don't know. I guess I can go into Teams somehow and figure out how I can change that. It might be because of the actual uh 365. There are levels above 365, so it may be restricted for me to do transcription because I've only got business 365 and not that higher level. But I'll find out.
Well, but that was still amazing that you figured it out. That
Yeah.
I do have access. That's good.
Yeah. I'll try to get a transcription, get it transcribed, but
Yeah.
that's gonna mean me going in. Maybe it's something I can do here. I'll look it up and figure it out. And if I can get that done before I send it to YouTube, I'll do that. So you'll have the transcription and the video together. And then you can just copy and paste it. You know how to copy and paste the transcription.
Well, I just think it's interesting how, you know, from that meeting that we had, I went to where I ended up, that framework where I ended up, in that that's not where I want to be though, right? So I still think it was useful for me from that perspective of, oh, this is where I am, and going, oh no, this is not where you want to be, to where we are now. Um, but I guess I just want to also acknowledge the pain of doing that. And if you could read what I wrote about my growing up with Willa May,
Mm,
that I had to stop because again, it was it was so I could not figure out how to make the experience a positive experience and that I wanted to, right? I really wanted there to be redeeming qualities of my childhood with her that I could point to or pull out ways in which I she was really supporting my growth and development in the things that, even if those things were not traditional, let's sit down and read, or sit on my lap, let me tell you how
mhm,
smart and beautiful you are. Even if they weren't those things, that there was going to be something in the relationship and the way that, she parented, that I thought I was going to be able to pull out something that was meaningful for this book. You know, that regardless of all this shit, history that we've been through, and regardless of what people say about Willa Mays, right? There is something redeeming about Willie Mae that I'm going to find, and I'm going to bring that forward in this book in ways that are new, ways of thinking about, you know, Black people and their strengths, right? Your mother, my mother, she didn't do this, but she did do that, right?
mhm, mhm.
I was trying to flip the script, but I couldn't find anything.
You know what?
Tina!
You know what
Tina!
though?
That's so
Let me
horrible!
tell you. No, no. Let me tell you what it reminds me of. Two people, Tanisi and Dwight. They both act like I was the worst mother. Like about 2 weeks ago, which I was really a little irritated at Ken. He asked Tanisi, we were just riding, and he was just trying to have conversation, but I'm like, you didn't have to ask her that. But I guess in a way, I guess it was okay that he did because I could see where her head was, right? And
Right.
he asked her something like, "Do you? Oh, did your mom? Was your mother a good mother? Did she do something?" And she was like, "Why don't you ask her?" She just said, "Why don't you ask her?" And if you tell Tanisi all that she is really didn't have anything to do with me, it had to do with her and her Bible and her Jesus.
Ooh, Lord have mercy.
So I'm just telling you that it's okay, because obviously, when you grow up, and I'm not saying that what you're experiencing or feeling is invalid, because I really have no way of knowing anything about that, what's valid or not. But I'm just saying that to say sometimes our perspectives about what our parents have given us, um, is not as full as it could be, um, sometimes. And even Dwight, I mean, he has. I could tell. It's funny. I was thinking the other day that Dwight probably always had some sort of animosity against me, towards me, because one of the things that happens when when children grow up with the parents, people they love, they want to be like their parents. And if they can't be like their parents, they want to choose a partner who's like their parents. Like a girl wants a man who's just like her daddy, especially if it's a good daddy, right? My son never even described anybody that would look like me as a partner that he wanted. He always said he wanted him a girl with a big behind, dark skin, big booty Judy kind of chick. And he was saying that when he was 7 and 9.
And is that who he has right now?
Yep. But no, she's light skinned. She's light skinned, but his first girlfriend, the child of the mother of his son, his first child, she was, dark. She wasn't big. She was an average because she was still young, like 19 or something. But no, dark skin, blah blah blah. But what he described was his grandmother, his father's mother. He always seemed to have a stronger appreciation for. I mean, his grandmother was amazing. That's number one. but but she was amazing because I allowed him to see that. And I mean, I was taking him to see her at least twice a year. She lived in Dayton, at least twice a year, driving there, learning how to drive just so I could get him to his grandmother. And I'm the one who made sure those relationships with uncles and all of that is where they are. Um, but yeah, he values her persona far more. So when his father was killed, you know, I mean, I almost think he even blamed me for it. I mean, who knows? But yeah, so I'm just saying, I never really, when you ask him about me and my parenting, the whole idea of restricting him from doing things that he wanted to do, or from not giving him video games, all of those things. You just don't see him. I don't think I've ever heard Dwight say that I was a good parent, ever. Mom, you've been a really good mom to me. Not once. And neither has Tanisi. If you were a stranger and they were to tell you their story, you would think that I was girl a hoe on the street who was a drug addict who didn't know how to take care of her kids, because they wouldn't give you a picture, a good picture of what I've given them. It
Oh,
just wouldn't. Even
that
like,
is that
and
is
it's
very
true.
strange.
It's horrible. It is so horrible that our kids are at that place, especially with as much as I've sacrificed, for them. And um, like Tanisi, she has a shooting to do. Girl, I almost broke my arm the other day, moving stuff out of here by myself. By myself. That bed you were sleeping in Tanisi room, that trunk, that's all. It's all wood. So the trundle is like 70, 80 pounds by itself. And it was falling over. And I was trying my best to hold on with my left arm, which is the weaker arm, because girl, and the thing flipped around, and my arm is swollen here because it hit on my arm. I mean, all kinds of stuff, trying to do all of this by myself. This girl, she knows I'm moving, not even. And when she did come over, I mean, she helped me take some things into the storage room, but like she didn't, not even saying, "My mom, I'm doing this during the day, but I can come over super late if you don't mind, and I can start packing some things. I can do that, so I can do that." No, they just, I don't know what that is, but I'm just saying, you that when you're the child of someone, I mean, I can't say that my mother, I don't remember now one day my mother said, "Oh, I love you, Tina." Never
Me
happened.
either. Me either.
Never
That never
happened.
happened. Well, it
Never.
happened. It happened once I had graduated from college and she had changed. She went
Mm,
through a change in life where she was more emotional, more soft, more. She really did go through this change. And I was like, I didn't know her anymore because the mother I knew was harsh. And I was scared to really have a relation. I didn't want a relationship with her because all I felt was fear
mhm,
from her. So so yeah, same thing. I don't remember sitting in her lap ever. I do remember being like, "Ooh, there she is. Let me go in another room." You know. So I mean, she was seriously harsh
mhm,
in in her way of parenting. And I do they say authoritative parenting is a valid way of raising respectful kids who understand what the rules are, right?
mhm,
You know, if you have an authoritative parent, you know what to do. You understand your boundaries. You understand what you can and cannot do. You, right? So I do give her that, right? There's a lot of things I give her. I know she was depressed.
mm,
So she still raised these children by herself and kept them safe, even though she was depressed.
mhm,
She still figured out how to get a roof on our head because my ex husband's mother had them moving every 5 minutes, getting their electric turned off, getting their utilities of all kinds turned off. You
mhm,
know, just horrible stuff happening to them because his mother was so out of it. My mother was strong enough to keep that structure there, where we had things to eat, roof over our head, clothing, all of that. She did it, right? She was
mhm,
able to do it. I don't know how she did it with 8 children. I often say, well, after raising one, I really don't know how she did it with 8, right? So I do see her strengths, but um, and I would say these things to her, right? How did you do it, right?
mhm.
But in terms of nurturing and parenting style, it was off. But I hear what you're saying, and I can appreciate it, and I'm ready to leave that behind and go forward with our original intention of making it lighthearted and fun and just get this thing done and being creative and pulling as much positive parenting from our understanding of it, whether it came from her or it came from me, right? Let's pull that into, this to show parents now how they can raise a successful child. Um, so
And a
So
successful child, in our case, Mitzi, is just one who who reads and who uses reading as a way of helping them develop psychosocially. And right,
yeah,
not
yeah,
necessarily you got to go to college, but that success is one
right,
who understands the value and appreciates reading and can develop from it.
right.
That's my thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So I
Um,
guess what we need to do from here to keep this going is okay, I'm trying to I guess I want to develop some kind of a list of what I would say to this generation of parents that would help them see the value of reading. Would that get us to a next level?
you mean
What
like
can
a
get
like an introduction or a premise?
just again, I all I want to do is create some kind of a structure so
Hmm.
that we can hang our book on this structure, right?
Hmm.
I
Okay.
still feel like that's the way to go, even
Sure,
though the
sure.
structure that I was trying to provide was not the right structure. What is
Mhm.
the structure then? Uh, so that we could hang this stuff on. Like we want to help this generation of children through reading, and we want to help this generation of parents learn the value of reading to their children. So, what are the components? What can I say to them that would help them to understand that value? I'm just trying to go to the next, if we've established our purpose, then how do we get to the next phase of this framework so that we can actually start writing this book?
Well, I haven't really. For me, I was thinking more from a. Let me pull up your thing, Mitzi, because I didn't really get a chance to look at that. I saw. I mean, I glanced at when we were talking, but I
Hmm.
didn't. I didn't get to really look at your book. I mean, your framework. Not to read it. Put it that way. Book frame.
Well, it's a different book, Tina. Is
Okay,
that's the
so
point?
let me say this then. What I feel
Okay.
like we need to do is really let's just straight create a basic logic model for the book.
Yes.
It's just a basic logic model. And then we can, I think when we do that part, that will help give us guys. Now we can write on this piece. What about this piece, this piece, this piece? Let's just create a logic model. Uh, and I can work on that too, and then maybe give us a framework, a draft, and then you can build it out if you want, Mitzi, or you can do it yourself. Um, but I feel like also the most important part, we have to have that introduction, the introduction to this book, that introductory chapter on what did we say? What's the introductory chapter? Yeah, the power of reading. The power of reading. We don't even have to say together, just the power of reading. Right? And then I feel like we need to get those personal stories out. And their personal story doesn't necessarily have to be one that people understand because we want to resonate with people who've had all kinds of experiences. And just like I said, I asked that woman last night that her mother read that book to her. She's like, and I'm almost sure she and I are the same age or similar age, right? And but she still had so much joy when she thought about green eggs and ham, right? And so I feel like, Mitzi, we have to start writing. So I can create a logic draft and see if that works, if see if we're on par with that, and we can refine it. But at the same time, I think we need to get to A and B under our belt.
Okay.
Introduction A and B. You can do an overview of the benefits of reading, and that's easy you to do. Um, when we're in that, and then even if it's jotting down those benefits, in bullet form. Um,
Hmm.
um, So like we said, it's not just reading to your child, it's just reading. Whether or not you're encouraging them to read through your own actions and behaviors, or if you're facilitating their reading by buying the books, or that's just the premise right there. So I feel like we need to just get that part done,
Okay.
and then I think things will grow from there.
All right.
Right. So let me work on getting a logic model for us. Getting a logic model for us, and then both getting our little stories together, uh, and then we'll read those and share it with each other. Um, we still have to
Okay.
get you. We still have to get to publishing.com, so we haven't done that yet. But I think once we get some sense of feeling comfortable with our experience and expressing that, and in some sort of way, once we get that, then we can get on into publishing. We can start building our chapters in publishing.com and work from there.
Okay. Now,
Hmm.
I did send you what my computer
Oh, wait,
was
what did you?
telling me about 365.
Okay,
Remember?
wait, hold on. Let me get to my mail, girl. Cause close this. You sent Mitzi initial registration. Was that it?
No, that was your state. Did you figure that out? That was
What?
your business registration where you had sent me. Here's what for that 599 that they
Okay.
wanted you to pay.
So Mitzi, let's do this together. Let's do this together, okay? So what I want you to do, since we're on Teams, are you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was frozen. So what I want you to do is go to that link. Go to that link that I sent you.
Which
The
what
one that I
link?
sent you for the 365. You said it was for business something.
Oh, okay. Wait a minute.
And girl, yesterday I was back on with Microsoft because again, challenges, challenges, challenges. I couldn't get download my apps and all kinds of stuff. And it's amazing how I feel like, okay, I feel like I'm an okay person when it comes to technology, but what am I missing? And you know what? What that guy took me through, there is absolutely no way I would have been able to figure that out unless I already had a strong background with some level of IT. So, but we were able to do it, and now I got my own Shaded Lilies platform. I've got it's separate from Cover Me Enterprise. I can interchange them quickly. So when I do my bookings, I have to do my bookings all over. The bookings are the links that you got to the webinars that I wanted to do. And if you hover over those links, you'll see it says Cover Me Enterprise. Well, I don't want Cover Me Enterprise associated with Shaded Lilies, right? So now I can go back and make all of those changes and it'll be directly related to Shaded Lilies, associated with that and everything. So I was excited. I finally got all of that done, got my apps, everything that I needed, all updated and ready for me. So I'm
That's
excited.
fantastic.
I'm excited. All
You
right, so
should be. So, okay, I found it on my phone, but let me go and my computer, the email
yeah, yeah,
associated
and
with that.
yeah. Just do that. And once you get that email, open it and go to the link. Actually, go to the link, and then I'll want you to share your screen with me.
Okay.
Girl, working. I mean, even though I'm wearing gloves and stuff, I keep getting hives on my face because I'm touching things that have been in contact with insect spray, right? They've been in the closet, or I'm touching some area that or boxes that I know I sprayed around them before, or like yesterday I had to move my dresser, and I remember that I had sprayed around the dresser trying to get an insect, right? and and just touching that, even if it was 3 years ago, it's still residue there. Now I've got like hives all over.
Oh my God,
It's
girl.
crazy. Yesterday, I'm like, dang. And then one of them, look at my finger, the pad of my finger. It was a big old hive on my cheek that was shaped just like my finger. So okay,
Girl,
yeah.
no.
I knew it was some chemical that I touched, and I had on my gloves, so I might have touched my finger with my glove. I don't know. My eyes are swollen because of the chemicals, just anyway, such is life. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
You found it?
Oh, close it. I'm sorry. Um, I just can't imagine being so allergic to things.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't have
You
imagined
know,
either.
just think of how much we or I touch your face, my face,
Well, you know
right?
what?
It's like,
Years ago, there was this cream, amber, not amber. It was some kind of cream you could put on a pimple to get rid of the pimples.
yeah.
I was in my teens, like 17, 19, probably more like 17. And remember I used to use that cream for the pimple. And I had a pimple here. And I remember putting a little bit on there, and then the next thing you know, my skin was swollen, and it ended up stretching out and ruining my skin. The skin never bounced back. So even today, that skin, now that I'm almost, but it's still older skin than the other eye. So that's
What?
when I first
Tina.
realized that I was allergic to stuff. Yep. Yep. It just ruined my
Wow.
skin. Ruined
Uh,
it.
wow.
Yep.
Okay,
Just
so
okay.
this
Share.
email goes all the way back to April 1st, 2024,
No, I don't
and
want
it's
that.
what?
Mm-mm.
This is
No.
no, but listen, this is get set up and start using Microsoft 365 today. That's all I was sharing with you is that, well, remember, this is when I first got
Okay. Oh,
365.
oh, is that? See, I didn't know what you, Mitzi. You're okay. Wait, I don't know what you sent to me. You you sent something on Saturday.
No, this was on
Okay.
Friday that I sent this because I thought this was the answer to whether or not I
Okay.
already had Microsoft 365 but had
Okay.
never started using it,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Now, yeah, but you sent it on Saturday at 11:38 a.m. to me. Okay. So
No, that's not it.
it
Oh,
says,
maybe it.
yeah, it
Okay.
says you sent it to me on Saturday, 18, 11:35. It says system for award management sounds like it's, oh, you made a
No, that's
comment?
not it. That's
And then
not it. That's not it.
and then down
That's that.
below it
That
says
was a. But that
being
was.
forwarded April 1st, 2024, 3:49. You forwarded that email. April 4th, 3, right? April
Yes.
1st, 2024.
Yes.
Get set up and start using Microsoft today. Right?
Right.
Okay, there. So
Okay,
I'm
but
looking at
I'm
that.
just saying that there was two emails, and you know how they start folding all of our emails back and forth together. That other one was me responding to your question about your registration of your business, and it had nothing to do with this Microsoft 365. That's the only
Right,
point
right,
I'm trying to make, is
right.
that I don't want to be on that, responding to that email because that was about your business registration. I want to talk about this Microsoft 365 and
I
how,
understand.
okay, so so you were just saying though that you don't, this isn't the right email that you want to deal with, but I'm saying Yeah, it is because this is them saying, "Congratulations, Mitzi, welcome to Microsoft 365." And I probably never downloaded the whole thing, and that's why I don't have it, and that's why I can't use it, right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, what you're saying makes sense. The only problem is let's see. I've ah, see, I clicked on it and it took me to my account. So you have to click on it. Mitzi, go ahead
Yes.
and click on that, and then I want you to share your screen.
Okay. Now, did you click on Visit Administrating Admin Center?
Yeah, but it connected it to my
Okay.
account.
Okay. I'm getting
So
ready to click on it. And I think I did click on it before, and it was a different email address. And I went, oh, well, that's the problem.
that's what I'm
An
saying. You
email
got to
address
figure
that I
out
was
what it's associated. Yeah. Okay, so did you share
exactly.
your screen?
So it's not open yet. It's opening.
Oh,
It's going to GoDaddy. Oh
oh, that's
no.
why. Okay, that's why. Your that account is what I had. That's what I was telling you before. Well, but no, because okay, so a couple of things is going on in my head. Number one, when the GoDaddy came up, that means do you know can you sign into GoDaddy? Because when you sign into GoDaddy, you could figure out what 365 you have. You got it through GoDaddy through that email with your South Carolina, right? Your nonprofit.
And see, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to stop
Well,
recording?
but to tell you the truth, I don't know now which one I use to do it. And so that's why it's going to take me a few minutes probably now to actually sign in because I'm going to have to figure out which email I used to sign in with GoDaddy. So I'm going to get started on that right now.
Let's see. Do you want me to stop recording? Do we need to continue to record?
No, we don't.
Okay.
And I'm going to start with